Well, as Vladimir Putin's announcement was being broadcast, the United Nations Security Council was holding an emergency session on Ukraine. There, representatives from Russia and Ukraine, and we heard the Ukrainian representative challenging his Russian counterpart to deny that Ukraine was under attack.
Secretary General. Because it's too late, my dear colleagues, to speak about de-escalation. Too late. The Russian president declared a war on the record. Should I play the video of your president? Ambassador, shall I do that right now, or you can confirm it? Do not interrupt me, please. Thank you.
Then don't ask me questions when you are speaking. Proceed with your statement.
Anyway, you declared the war. It is the responsibility of this body to stop the war. So I call on every one of you to do everything possible to stop the war. Or should I play the video with your president declaring the war?
Well, we can talk now to Morgan Furt-Malka, who is a political analyst and Russia specialist. Morgan, thanks very much for being with us. I believe you join us from Paris, and therefore my first question would be, what of Emmanuel Macron's diplomacy so far? Because, of course, he was trying to head off exactly the eventuality we're now seeing. So in that sense, he failed.
Hello. Yes, Emmanuel Macron's diplomatic efforts have to be seen in the context of domestic policies, and especially now in the context of the electoral campaign, because France is in the midst of a very fierce presidential campaign in which Macron has not yet declared himself candidate, and he is positioning himself as a very strong president. And one of the areas in which he can deploy this image is foreign policy. For him, this is one field in which he can really differentiate himself from the candidates, the other candidates in the presidential election, which have absolutely no grasp on what is happening. However, I think that until now, President Macron was quite happy with what he was doing and what was happening. He was quite happy that he had managed to become a little bit of the center of the attention in terms of diplomatic efforts. He had become a bridgehead of European diplomacy in this game, which had started as in a very bilateral format between Russia and the US. Now, what happened today, what happened this morning, I think it took many people by surprise, and including Macron's diplomatic team.
And what, in terms of what could come next, as European nations and the Americans consider further sanctions? I mean, we know that the initial round of sanctions didn't alter Vladimir Putin's plans. What might make him think twice about going further, or even convincing him to step back?
I think it is the million-dollar question. It has always been the million-dollar question, what Putin is thinking about and what his motivations are. I think that the latest developments in this crisis have shown that the keys that we had to understand Putin's behavior for the past 10 years, they're not valid anymore, and we shouldn't use them to interpret Putin's behavior now. Putin has changed a lot in the past 2 years. He has isolated himself a lot because of the COVID-19 crisis and his almost, I would say, his exaggerated fear of contracting it. He has isolated himself, and he's speaking with only a handful of counselors, all security advisors. And he's not making these decisions on the same basis, on the same broad basis as he was beforehand. The presidential administration, which used to, for in the past few years, used to formulate the Russian state's policies in all domains, is an institution with really talented and competent people working in it. And it was, in the past years, it was really visible that Russian statehood had become more efficient, and that the basis for the decision-making at the highest level was of a really good quality. This is not the case anymore in the past in very recent times, because now Putin, and it is visible if you look at his appearances, his public appearances, he has a completely different posture, a completely different persona, and he puts in place completely different shows. I think in this regard, it's very important, for example, to look at the Security Council meeting of last Monday and today's video where Putin announces the invasion of eastern Ukraine, because the tone of those videos, the persona that Putin is showing the world, Russia, and his own people, his own establishment, it is scary. It is the tone of a gangster who's just going to scare away everyone and scare his way through the goal that he set himself. Now, I think that Putin's tactical moves have been excellent in the past weeks in Ukraine.
For that very interesting insight.